Well, welcome back one and all to another exciting edition of Transformers Reviews. Well, as you guys know, today we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 Legacy Evolution Transformers, and I'm really excited to bring this list to you guys, especially with it being the last video for the year. So, without further ado, let's jump into our number 10 pick. And our number 10 pick is none other than our boy Detritus, which you can see he looks sick rocking somebody else's blast effect, and that's one of the reasons that I like him. But the other being that, considering that Hound's figure has disappeared into the ether somewhere, and we don't know what's going on with it, it was a strong incentive to pick this guy up and get to experience the mold. Now, if you guys know me, I'm also very much a sucker for a Jeep Transformer, so that's probably another reason that it's a no-brainer that I picked this guy up. But as you guys can see here with the missile tip and one of the guns, I love the gold that they're rocking. One of the most interesting places that they ended up putting gold on this guy, aside from also like the winch down here, was if you guys can kind of see there at the bottom of his chin and stuff, they gave him a goatee. And I'm like, whoa, so you have one too. And overall, though, I think this is a really good figure, so it's not really surprising that he ended up in my personal top 10. And our number 9 pick is none other than our boy, Jazz. And as you probably already can tell, this is actually the Cybertronian Bumblebee Origins Jazz. And, I mean, just this boy's aesthetic, how it greatly differs from the Studio Series. Studio Series, it's great, but I just like how different this guy feels. And another thing this Jazz is famous for is he actually has the grapnel launcher that he can replace either one of his hands with. And man, that is just a cool, tiny touch that is awesome. But another thing you can actually do with the grapnel launcher is it actually showed in his instructions or on his box, I can't remember which, that you can actually put the very tip of it onto the gun so it makes the entire gun look like a launcher too. And again, sometimes it's the smallest details that make the figures the most awesome. And so Jazz, it's the overall package is why he lands at this point on the list. And our number 8 pick is our boy Devcon. Now, if you guys managed to catch his video, I'd mentioned in there that this is not how he looked whenever I became aware of this character. At that time in his life, he was actually one of the Beast era wreckers. However, what he looked like before and after that is what you see right here in the action figure. So it's cool that you have a both pre and post version Devcon at a retail release now. And as you guys can see, he rocks several of the blast effects, not only for his wrist-mounted blaster, but when you move the boosters to his back, it gives him a rocket pack. And I don't know, that's a cool little aesthetic touch for this guy, because you could even move it down to his legs if you wanted to go that route. And overall, just it's a general slick aesthetic design for his robot mode. His vehicle mode, maybe I have a personal problem with it, but it's not enough to disqualify him from the list because I like the character overall. And like I said, for robot mode, this is an excellent representation of him. And our number 7 pick could be no other than Prime Dreadwing. And I will say this, that Skyquake looked okay, but this mold, it looks a heck of a lot better in this color of blue that they have picked out. And another thing that they picked out detail-wise was you can see there's the Seeker emblem on his chest. He also has it on both of his wings and other areas, just slightly picking it out. I love that, in addition to the reds, the silvers, the grays. It just, yes, there is nothing on this boy that aesthetically hurts to look at. And on top of that, while his Prime design was different from how it looks here, that was okay for his animation look. But if this redesign, bringing him more in line with the Generation 1 Skyquake, was what it takes to get this updated figure, I'm all for it. And maybe it's the kid part of me that's in the deep recesses of my brain that enjoys just having a big, gigantic jet figure that's also a bruiser type when you put him with other figures. Yeah, there is just something undeniably fun about this guy, and so I was happy to include him on the list. And our number 6 is none other than the silent, deadly assassin, Bludgeon. And, oh, let me tell you, this guy, he by himself is solely responsible for kicking Tarn off the list entirely, because he does everything that Tarn does but just better. He does have the samurai helmet head going on. That's cool. The other thing that I dig is that he holds the samurai blade properly, which is two-handed. Some people don't get that. And the fact that this figure is able to do that, that is awesome. Because this guy is more known for causing damage with his sword than he is his blasters. And the fact that you can actually recreate the pose that's on his box art, yes, man, I'm telling you that I just love the insane posability that this mold has. And again, with the whole color thing and the aesthetic, just slaying it, man. Because I have always wanted a Bludgeon figure that was basically this. And when we started to find out that it was going to be taken from Tarn's mold, I really began to get excited because this thing has not only met my expectations, but actually slightly exceeded them as well. And our honorable mention is Volcanicus. And for them to have released Dino King as A, the most obvious, and B, the most bankable team before releasing it as Dino King, it allows us to kind of get a little bit of pre-experience with the molds. Dino King himself is going to come as a box set. Whereas where we had to kind of hunt down all these independent pieces, we were able to kind of slowly get a picture and see if we like this mold. And I like that because while that was not Hasbro's intent, it is the reality of the situation is if you didn't like this guy, then more than likely you aren't going to like Dino King. But I like how this version of Volcanicus actually works with all of your core class figures, while Dino King will actually be this size in relation to Deluxes and other figures all the way up to Deathsaurus. So it's cool that it can work with both size classes as the two characters is clearly meant to be. And in returning to our list, guys, we have our number 5 pick, which it is none other than Armada Megatron. And I don't know why people have a problem with this because look at the head sculpt. That is the face that David K's wonderful voice came out of right there. But this guy's sole purpose is to look good and pose awesome and to be a modern kind of, with all the fluff stripped out of it, version of that character. And I totally dig it. Now, one of the interesting features, because it is just an Evo guy, is I love how you can actually take the tank bit and give him more of like a G1 Shockwave gun hand if you want to do that, which that's not a thing for this character. It never has been, never will be. But the fact that you can just do something crazy and wild like that, I totally am enamored with it. Plus, the other thing is, now that Tidal Wave has been announced for the United line, it's going to be really, really cool to see how he actually not only boosts up this guy's height, but to have the armor add-on bits, the smaller pieces that come off of Tidal Wave to form the burning Megatron armor, is it doesn't attach to the ports on his arms like the old one did. It actually attaches up here and kind of is a facsimile of that.
Ha ha ha! The power is mine! The time has come, Optimus, to end this game.
The arms are good, but I don't think they could hold up the weight of those extra armor pieces that we get off of Tidal Wave. So again, he is, in my opinion, one of my favorites for the year. He is so much better than the original figure. And another thing I dig is how you can actually move the antlers down to simulate the attack that he used on Optimus and Hotshot both. So it's probably pretty obvious that the Galvatron repaint of this guy is going to be pretty sick when it comes out. I'm not personally going to pick it up, but I can appreciate a bot that looks good, especially with a mold that is as solid as this guy is. And our number 4 pick is our boy, Lyle Convoy. And if you guys watched our top 6 summer picks, this guy actually landed at number 1. So yes, he has slipped down the list a little bit, but not too far. Again, he's in the top 5. However, one thing that has not slipped is how awesome this guy is. Now, I kind of glanced over some of the features whenever I did it on the summer list. However, let me reiterate what is awesome about this guy is I like that he can actually have the shoulder cannon attack, plus the fact that those 4 guns can be utilized in robot mode with the little pop-out deals. The other thing that I totally dig is the fact that the guy has a Wolverine-esque style blades that he can just go to town with. Plus the aesthetics that are very Convoy, definitely digging that. One thing that I have always really liked is how they went to even level of detail to include the little energon matrix, which is blast effect compatible. As you guys can probably tell, I'm totally down with them bringing a lot of these Japanese characters, not only so that people can kind of get to know the characters, but also be able to mess with these really nice updated molds. So I think it's a very solid pick for number 4. And our number 3 pick is none other than Generation Select's Antagony, or as I prefer to use it, Transmetal Scavenger. And some may be questioning, well, if this is a Gen Selects, does it count? Yes, it does, because this figure actually has the Evolution banner on the packaging, so it does fit in and does count. And if you want to use this as the character was intended to be, again, being Antagony, there's nothing wrong with letting it be our girl. But the fact that they went to the level of detail they did and included, I never thought that Scavenger, this version of him, was going to get an update. And plus, I have to mention, look at his sick red eyes. I love the glow on that. And don't get me wrong, while this mold may have been number 2 last year and it's come down 1, don't let that fool you, because the aesthetic details, the paint pops, and everything about it, especially like all the third-party kits you get out on, like the booster and the drill hands, it goes so awesome. And that's the funny thing is it's not a technicality. This is a Generations Legacy Evolution version of Transmetal Scavenger, and man, it's my Beast Wars fan side coming out here. Because again, I like Antagony, but I have such a history with Scavenger that, yeah, the poor girl's never going to get to use this as her body. It's going to pretty much be this guy as long as he's on my shelves. And yes, he just blows all the other ones that we saw away. So with that being the case, it's probably no surprise that this is 3rd on my list. But as you guys will see with my first 2 picks, you'll understand that as excellent and as fun and as nostalgic as this mold is making me be right now, it unfortunately pales in comparison to the next 2 boys. And our number 2 pick is none other than Commander Class Optimus Prime. Now, this guy, along with the Cybertronian Optimus, the Gamer Edition Studio Series, a lot of people would actually put one of these boys as the number 1 on their list, and it's not hard to see why. Both of these guys are awesome. However, we've already talked about this guy, so let's give some due attention to a long overdue version of Armada, especially in his super mode. This is something that we wished the original guy could do, but because of all the electronics and everything that it was beholden to, it was unfortunately a statue in super robot mode, so posability was never going to happen. And just to see the guy, I mean, the poses that this guy can do as the ginormous robot are awesome. Not to mention that whenever he's just in his base robot mode, he looks really cool there as well. It's everything. I kind of refer to it as a sort of bridge between his original Supercon one that could combine with the trailer and what they used to call the bendy Optimus Prime. This guy, in just the base robot mode, takes the best of both of those and rolls it together into one with a modern legacy aesthetic to it that doesn't totally just deny its Armada origins, and that is so cool. Now, if you guys can see over here, one thing that I have been digging is the fact that the old Minicon super weapons, like the shield, the blaster, or the sword, that these guys can still interact with them because, like today, they're using 5mm peg ports. So it's kind of cool to see figures that are 20 years apart working together. However, it's not just the Minicons that this guy can work with. Because if you have any iteration of the Armada Overload mold, whether it was the Ultra Magnus, the Sentinel Maximus, or just, again, any version of it, it can actually sit there and work with this Optimus Prime, which is cool to think about, that there's been 20 years between these two figures, and the fact that it is that far backwards compatible with a guy like this, that is, in my opinion, killer. And And we know we're going to be getting a new version, but the fact that until then, if you want to have this guy be a placeholder, you certainly can. I don't know. For me, that's something that I think is really special. And if it was just by happy accident, great. If it was by design, well played, Hasbro. Well played. So again, it's no wonder why it's number 1 on a lot of people's lists. However, for ours, it hits at number 2. And our honorable mention will actually be the entire Toxitron collection. Now you can see here I have 2 of probably the most fun examples out of that entire collection. However, if you guys are wanting one figure in particular out of the entire collection for me to pick, well, it's going to be Jazz, obviously. He's orange, so no duh, right? But, you know, I think technically since it is my list, if I want to have the entire collection as a other honorable mention, that's what I'm going to go with, because it's hard to pick out of all these guys a favorite. Even as much as I love this guy, the other ones have certain perks about them that are just so strange, I can't help but be attracted to it. Being saddled with these crazy 90s colors, that basically means that I have well-engineered molds with wacky decos that, I mean, how could I be mad about that? So that was a definitely fun collection to acquire. And figure, I mean, how often will we ever get a yellow Grimlock with tiger stripes? So with that 90s nostalgia, it's no wonder that they claim one of the honorable mention spots. And who could our number 1 pick actually be? Well, it is none other than probably the one that surprises absolutely no one, Deathsaurus. And while I do regret that I was not able to bring that video to you guys in which I went over the guy, let me just kind of reiterate some of the awesome things about this, because as sick as this throne is with him on it, I love the fact that Megatron, the Transmetal 2 Megatron, can actually sit on this throne, and it works for him too. But the throne itself is really, really awesome, and how it takes all of Deathsaurus' accessories and pretty much hides it from the front. It is an excellent use of storage. Plus, the guy himself, I kind of said that in his video, he's kind of like a mythical Fusor in the fact that he's not only a griffin, but he's also a dragon. And he pulls it off so excellently. Even just sitting here on his throne like Thanos, the dude is killing the look. And then when our guy decides to finally get up off his throne after his minions inevitably screw up bad enough, when he gets into the action, you can see with just 2 of his accessories here, the shield and the sword. Oh man, the guy is awesome. And then in the head, oh, that looks so cool. One of the things I've always liked about Deathsaurus is the fact that he has 4 eyes on his head, with the 2 on top of his visor, which together, it kind of homages his griffin mode. That's not even mentioning the breastmasters that he uses. This dude is sick, and I think it's just the fact that not only is it number 1 because it's a Haslab, I think it's just the fact that I've waited so long for this dude and gotten so hyped up about him. And pretty much since the day he arrived, I've not really been disappointed with this guy. He's pretty much done everything that I would want a high tier figure of his caliber to do. So if he hits every mark and doesn't fail in any respects other than maybe he's a little bit janky in his posing mode for his bow and arrow. So maybe that's the one nitpick about this guy. But if he hits every other thing on the checklist perfectly, he's definitely deserving of number 1 in my opinion. So I am just digging the fact that we finally now have the perfect counterpoint to Starsaber.
The power! The infinite power! Give it to me! Energy is flowing through me as it never did before! My destiny! Look at me! Tremble with fear!
So basically everybody, that was our top 10 Legacy Evolution figures. I hope you guys enjoyed the list. I tell you, it has been a really good year for the robots, especially ones that maybe didn't end up on this list, like for instance Shrapnel or Beachcomber. I love those guys. And man, for all the stuff that's going to be coming out in 2024, it looks like it's going to be a good year. Matter of fact, my Tiger Hawk is getting ready to be shipped. I'm looking forward to the Awe Striker Soundwave, even though I'm not a G.I. Joe guy. So there's going to be a ton of cool stuff that we're going to be looking at next year when it rolls around. So Other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, as always, we'll see you in another review.